Good morning. As Chris said, savor this ceremony. Every moment of it will only happen once. Our commencement speaker today is one of the most beloved members of our community. And he earned that term through his unwavering commitment to the school, to the students, his athletes, families, and his peers. His entire professional life has been committed to helping others learn, grow, and achieve. And he continues to do that. Even after his retirement last year, he comes back to the academy almost daily to help the boys and to work closely with his peers. In the program, you can read about all of his accomplishments. I'll let you do that on your own time. But now, after 6 years as a student, 41 years as a teacher and coach, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce Faculty Emeritus James E. Poole II as our commencement speaker.
Good morning. The French have a proverb that goes, if you want people to think well of you, don't speak. I consider turning around at this point and sitting back down. Most likely would have been an address you never would have forgotten. But I'm retired, so it doesn't really matter what people think of me. And besides, these fine young men up here asked me to speak, so Poole abides. Okay? I ride with a bunch of retired teachers and coaches, and the other day I mentioned to one of them on our ride that I would be addressing the seniors today. And he said, wow, what an honor, what an honor. And indeed, I am honored to address you on several levels. First, the vocation. Here we are, in the middle of the track, where the program I took a lot of pride in, did so well over a long, long time. Most of you can't imagine how much time I spent out at this very spot. When you consider that between cross country and track, I accumulated 84 seasons of coaching those two programs. Very often at the beginning of track season, we were out here with shovels in our hands, trying to clear a path through the month of March and sometimes even into April. But then there would be one of those first gorgeous days of spring when a bunch of the boys, usually the distance runners, would be stretching, talking, or just hanging out at the end of practice when someone would say, it doesn't get any better than this. That's when you know you've got the right job. Next, this is the 45th Academy graduation I've attended, and it's the first I can remember in which the speaker actually taught and coached most of the graduates. So I suppose that's significant in itself. And it's only fitting that I should be addressing this particular class since they are the best class I taught in all my years here. It's true. It's true. They said so themselves. Right front, Danny, Moose, Speeds, and how could I forget Jared? Apologies to the rising seniors, especially the Three Musketeers, who unfortunately will have to occupy a distant second best spot to these boys alongside of me. To all those who had me in class or who have been on one of my teams, you're well aware of my fondness for telling stories I've accumulated during my time at this school. And of course, I must share a graduation story I have in my back pocket. In 2008, the speaker was golfer Greg Norman, a business associate and the father of one of the graduating class. As a faculty member with seniority, I led the procession of my colleagues from the back of the audience, turned to the right, and headed toward the reserve section designated for the faculty. There was obvious signage stating reserved for faculty, but when I got to the first row of those seats, there were 4 people already there. Without looking closely as to who these trespassers might be, I said in my most authoritative faculty marshal voice, "Excuse me, you're going to have to find other seats. This is for faculty only." As soon as they started to stand up and I had a better look at one of them, I realized I just told Greg Norman's fiancée, tennis legend Chrissy Everett, to move. She recognized authority and did. tried to keep the essence of this as simple as possible because I know all of you want to grab your diplomas, begin your summer jobs, and then get ready for college. I will elaborate on 8 simple words, all one syllable, none longer than 5 letters. Be well, do good work, keep in touch. I know Dr. Howard is appreciating this since he gave a preview of it a few weeks ago to the Poole students. NPR used to air a 5-minute spot called The Writer's Almanac, hosted by Garrison Keillor. He'd give a few biographical notes on an author whose birthday was that particular day, read a poem, and then sign off with these 8 words. Be well, do good work, keep in touch. Being well, of course, means caring for the body you've been blessed with, which is the only one you're going to get. Take care of it. One of the strengths of this institution is its emphasis on physical education and athletics. And since only a few of you will be continuing your athletic career in college, most of you will have to find something on your own to keep you healthy during those years. Then beyond that, you'll all have to discipline yourselves with some kind of physical activity to engage in to remain fit. And with a job and a family, that can get hard. There are so many simple things you can do to maintain that one body you own. For example, one of my academy classmates, Division I All-American swimmer in college, is still very competitive at the master's level. And on last year's team would have been Coach Young's number 5 man in the 100 free, number 4 in the 100 backstroke at age 68. Another is a very competitive racer of outrigging canoes on the Pacific Ocean in California and Hawaii. A third still competes in masters track and field meets in the long jump and the high jump. These guys are more than 50 years out of high school, but still going quite strong. Another component of being well, of course, is a conscientious attention to diet, something you're all well aware of. Those freshmen 15 pounds could just as easily end up being a freshman 40 if you're not careful. Then you're in trouble. There's no question that obesity is an epidemic in this country. All you have to do is go to the beach to realize this. And speaking of epidemics, equally vital to being well is not abusing substances, legal or illicit. I'm sure you all know how big of a crisis our country is facing with opioid addictions and overdose fatalities. 47,000 Americans died of opioid overdose last year. That equates to everyone on this stage times 2. Be careful, be well, and respect yourselves. Doing good work is without question the most important and could be the most rewarding of the 3 elements to this address. I have to imagine that most of you don't have a crystal clear view of where you'll be in 4 years, and that's okay. Upon graduating from the academy, I had only an intuitive sense that I wanted to teach. This notion first came from having taught swimming at Camp Chichagua when I was 15, and further from teaching a military map reading course to 7th graders during the winter months of battalion activity during my senior year here. Still not having that clarity of my future upon graduation from college, I took a big leap and committed myself to serve in the Peace Corps in Colombia. That experience not only provided me with a completely unanticipated education, learning so much about another people, their culture, their language, their philosophy. I also felt that I was fulfilling the mission that President Kennedy envisioned when the Peace Corps was established, to help people in other parts of the world less fortunate than ours. It was through my teaching in Colombia that I began to understand the satisfaction that one can derive from helping others. Those of you who aspire to something in medicine, for example, consider how you will be doing good work. In 2007, my older son was diagnosed with lymphoma and underwent aggressive chemotherapy. There were moments during which I questioned whether he'd survive, but he did. I was not just grateful for the good work his doctors performed to save him, but I was overwhelmed by what they knew about how to treat him and the measures they took to make him well again. All those who treated my son devoted their lives to doing good work, and I am grateful to them for saving his life. So find something to do with your lives that will benefit others as well as yourselves. That will lead to a most rewarding life. Finally, keep in touch. If your student experience here was anything like mine, there are teachers, administrators, and staff who have helped you become the bright, capable, and talented young men you are. Let them know how much you appreciate their efforts by keeping in touch through whatever means there are, but especially by coming back to visit when you're in the area. It was a visit that I made to the school that ended up with my being employed here. I came home from South America to visit my family, and I decided I'd drop by Academy Road to see a few of my former teachers, one of whom was the legendary Ernie Steck. Finding out that I was about to finish my Peace Corps service, he not only encouraged me to apply to teach here, but I'm more than certain that he was instrumental in convincing the headmaster to hire me. And in the same way, I feel as if I may have had some little influence in the hiring of Peter Hansen, a former student and athlete of mine who ironically occupies my old classroom. Awesome is the word that I would employ to describe visits by former students and athletes who would pop in my classroom or out on the track. And a letter can mean so much to a former teacher or coach. I recently received a letter from Albany, Oregon, written by a runner I coached during my first 3 years here, a now not so young man who, until a few weeks ago, I hadn't seen since his graduation in 1979, 40 years ago. The letter was typed, single-spaced, page and a half long, thanking me for what I helped him accomplish back when he was one of my athletes. And another time, an alumnus whom I never taught in class, but coached in track for 4 years, came out to the track during his 10th reunion to thank me because every day during practice, I would correct his grammar. And years later, he realized how important that was in the business world. That kind of communication is validation of what we do as educators, is why we do what we do. I will forever treasure those moments, along with many more I've been given. More valuable than any paycheck I ever found in my mailbox. So please keep in touch, because your mentors here are a truly talented group of teachers, and they work very hard to prepare you for your futures. Let them know how much you appreciated their influence by keeping in touch. One final word. There's no way I could speak to you about this institution without paying homage to J.D. Salinger, who found the words to express what I've long felt about the Albany Academy. At the end of his novella, Seymour, an introduction, the narrator, who is an English professor at a women's college in upstate New York, voices this about the title character, his older brother. Quote, Seymour once said that all we do our whole lives is go from one little piece of holy ground to the next. This track and the Academy in general have been such a piece of holy ground for me, and I hope someday many of you may also think of it in those terms. Thank you, class of 2019, for this honor. You have no idea how special this moment is. I will cherish it forever. And please remember, be well, do good work, and keep in touch.